Introduction. To start with, it's important to know some basic concepts that we will explain in this module. Who creates the data? Where is it stored? Who defines the data structure? What is a family? What are the families made of? And how are families related? So, when we need to host information from a company, we create families in Aura Portal. Let's see an example. Let's imagine that we have to manage courses, and these courses are taught by some teachers and are attended by some students. In this case, we would create 3 families, one for the courses, one for students, and one for teachers. What are the families made of? Well, families are not just a simple warehouse. We will learn how to perform all kinds of advanced tasks with the families during the upcoming courses. We could basically say that there are columns and registers. The columns are attributes, they are the fields, and each register is what we call an element, what contains related information. When you click on a row, the form opens so you can introduce the data. Sometimes we need to access data that belong to different families from a single place. Instead of creating a unique family with lots of data, we can create relations between families. This way, we will avoid duplicating information. Here's an example. Here we can see the families we created before: students, courses, and teachers. Several students can attend the same course. A course can be taught by several teachers. The same student can attend several courses. A teacher can teach several courses, and so on and so forth. Therefore, we can see here an n-n relation between them. Here you can clearly see how creating a unique family instead of 3 will cause a lot of data to be repeated. You can clearly observe here that creating a unique family instead of 3 will For example, Jim would appear a few times since he is attending several courses. The teacher Maria would also be repeating since she is teaching several courses. Therefore, it will be a lot more efficient to create 3 families and then relate them. That way, Jim would only appear in the student's family and Maria would only appear in the teacher's family. Who handles the data so it can be managed and used afterwards? Firstly, we have the design layer, where admin portal and delegated administrators create the design, the structure. Then we have the users, what we call user layer. They will be the ones adding data to the previously created structure in design. Admin portal is the administrator with the most permissions in the application. It is the only one that can make an employee a delegated administrator. So, design layer, user layer, who handles the data so it can be managed and used afterwards? The delegated administrators are the ones that manage, organize, and define the application for all the users. They are the ones that make sure the data is managed correctly. We are going to learn how to create, define, and use the different Aura Portal data repositories. Once the delegated administrators define the structure, the users will be the ones using it. They will create and manage the company's data. Users can be people, telephones, robots, that is to say, any external system form which we could add data in the application. How do users interact with the system? Firstly, we have admin portal. Is the main Aura Portal administrator. Aura Portal does not have a record, that is to say, that is not in the employee's family. Our portal does not work with the usual application option, task, notification, etc. It has the most permissions to access the management of Aura Portal's structure. The delegated administrators are employee users who have special permissions. The permissions are granted by Admin Portal. These permissions allowed employees to access to the structure, where the configuration options are. The administrators are responsible for the design of all the configuration options. Finally, we have the employees or external users. They have access to the options authorized by the delegated administrators in the external portals for the external users. Where to manage the data structure from? Data structure is managed from a structure here. And from this option, we go into families, where we can manage all the different families. This is done by a delegated administrator. A user that is not a delegated administrator is not authorized to go into structure. On the other hand, we also have the users that can introduce data, create, delete, and manage from the family button of the vertical frame. Therefore, the delegated administrator or administrators are the only ones that can go into structure and design and organize the families. The users can only add data. Why are they called families? It says all data is stored in the application in a hierarchical way. This way of organizing the data is known as families of record. This is important for the administrator since he is the one that has to define the family's structure, and it is irrelevant for the users who just need to introduce the data. What is a tree structure? Let's explain now how the families are structured in a tree structure. Let's imagine we want to create a family called cities. So the first thing we have to do is create this family and the structure. We will also create the branches. In this case, it will be the continent. And the classes, which in this case will be countries. The structure is created by a delegated administrator in a structure. When it has been created, the users will be able to add the elements. We can observe here that the elements need to be placed in a class. Every time we create an element, we will have to select a class where to place it. For this to be possible, the structure, tree, and classes have to be created previously, so we can later place the elements in them. Most families have this structure: branches, classes, elements. We can observe that there are two families that are a bit different. The extensions will be the family documents and the family employees. What are the differences? In the documents family, we have libraries as opposed to classes. The elements are documents that we create in a library. Every time we create an element in a family, we have to place it in a class. In this case, we will have to select a library. As for the employees family, again, we are not talking about classes, but roles. The elements in this case are the employees, and they will be directly associated to the role. Is the only family whose elements is possible to check from a structure. To check the elements of the rest of the families, we will have to go to the application vertical frame and click on the families. So therefore, most families have branches, classes, elements, but we need to be careful because documents and employee families are different. They have branches, libraries, documents as opposed to elements, and branches, role, and employees. Types of families. Families created by default, that here highlighted in green. On the other hand, we have the families of records that are created by the delegated administrators. Here they're in blue. And in the application, there are a lot of places where to store information in the processes, libraries, image gallery. In this module, we are going to focus on families. System families, families of records. The families created by the system, employees, rules, accounts, items, projects, and area, have a fixed form. In the account family, we can create different forms, both for the accounts and the contact. In the family of records, we can create several forms too. Let's go to the application now. As we can see, we are AP1. We need to remember that we have several users, but the only one that is a delegated administrator is AP1. So when we want to work with the structure, we will have to be logged in as AP1. So if we want to, for example, let's go and structure an area, for example. Once we are in, we can see that we have edit tree. Okay, and here we have create new branch, see tree changes, expand, collapse. And here we can see all the information if we have spanned. We can see several branches here. So we have general, delegation, and 2 sub-branches like national and international, and a few classes. In this case, these 3. So I'm going to create a new branch. So 3, I'm going to call it foundations. So let's save. And if we are here, yeah, we can see now that we have foundations there. As you can see, it's really straightforward to create a new branch. Let's create a new class now. If I go to edit classes, yeah, and create, let's add name. In here, we can also select it if we want it preferential, but we will see later on how to do that. So if we span here, we can see the new class, but it's not here. So if we go now to families of records, areas, create an area. Now we have here select a class, and we only have Southzone class. This is because we selected it as preferential class previously. So if we click on proceed, we will see the rest of them. And there is a reason why the class we have just created is not here. And it is due to the fact that we didn't log it after creating it. So we will need to go back to structure, areas, edit tree, Let's expand the tree and foundations. And here we can see that the class hasn't been launched yet. So let's do it now. We select it, press here, and it's in here. Let's suppose I want to make this one preferential, so I will just have to tick here and save. Okay, right, now we can see it's already here. Let's create an area now that we have this class already. So let's go to family of records, areas, create an area. And now we can see, as we put it as preferential as well, we have two. We click on proceed, obviously we will have all of them. So let's choose cultural foundation and let's add a name here that could be this one, Maths Foundation, and save and exit. So it's here, okay, with all the elements. Okay, let's imagine now I want to modify a branch. Again, we will have to go back to structure, areas, edit tree, and imagine we want to change the name of foundations. So we just have to go here, delete that one, add the new one, and save. Refresh and span, we can see that is here already. Now let's imagine we want to create a new one. So let's call it foundation as the one we just deleted. And let's leave the 3 to see what happens. As you can see, there's a warning letting us know we already have a branch 3. If we decide to continue, the new branch will be placed as number 3, and the one that was there before will be moved into number 4. So let's say yes. And as we can see, foundation is 3, and this one has moved into number 4. Now I will have to change the class cultural foundations to branch 3 foundations. For that, I will have to first remove it from here. So here. So let's remove it. Okay, and save. Okay, it's not here. And then let's add it here. So as easy as to select it, lodge it, save, and it should be here. So here we just organize the tree, create the branches and classes, and lodge them into the right branches. Remember that it's not possible to add elements to a class if it hasn't been lodged previously. Once we finish the structure, as delegated administrators, the users can add the data. Now we have learned a bit about data management. It's your turn to try to do part 1.